0, 0, 0, your heart pounds. Your palms sweat. Your breathing quickens. That electrical current of dread courses through your body, commanding your entire being in an instant. Welcome to the mysterious realm of fear, humanity's oldest companion and most enigmatic emotion. I'm Dr. Alexandra Rivers, and today we're venturing into the shadowy corridors of the mind to uncover the baffling science behind fear and phobias. 30 fear, that primal sensation that both protects and paralyzes us, has shaped human evolution in ways more profound than we realize. But what happens when this protective mechanism transforms into something more sinister? What dark alchemy turns rational caution into irrational terror? Today, we'll decode the perplexing neural pathways that generate fear, explore the evolutionary enigma behind our deepest dreads, and venture into the bizarre landscape of phobias that defy conventional understanding. 1 o'clock, our journey begins within the labyrinth of the brain, where fear takes its first breath. At the center of this intricate neural web sits the amygdala, an ancient structure buried deep within the temporal lobes. This almond-shaped cluster of neurons serves as the brain's alarm system, constantly scanning for potential threats in our environment. What's truly fascinating is how the amygdala processes fear through two parallel pathways, the low road and the high road. 140, the low road is direct, automatic, and lightning fast. When you jump at a shadow before consciously recognizing it, that's the low road at work, bypassing rational thought entirely. This rapid response system allowed our ancestors to react instantly to predators, ensuring survival in milliseconds. In contrast, the high road involves the sensory cortex and prefrontal regions, allowing for conscious assessment of threats. This pathway enables us to evaluate whether that shadow is truly dangerous or merely a trick of the light. 220, the neurochemistry behind fear is equally captivating. When fear strikes, your brain releases a cascade of chemicals. Adrenaline floods your bloodstream, cortisol primes your body for action, and norepinephrine heightens your alertness. This chemical symphony produces the unmistakable physical sensations of fear. Accelerated heart rate, heightened senses, and the redirection of blood flow from your digestive system to your muscles, preparing you to fight or flee from danger. 3 o'clock, perhaps most enchanting, is how fear memories are formed and stored. Fear experiences create particularly vivid neural imprints, etched more deeply than ordinary memories. This is why traumatic events can remain so hauntingly clear decades later. Your brain prioritizes potentially life-saving information. These fear memories are stored in a distributed network involving the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex, creating a complex web that can be triggered by direct threats or subtle associated cues. 340, but why do we experience fear at all? The answer lies written in our evolutionary past. Fear is perhaps nature's most effective survival mechanism, an ancient guardian that kept our ancestors alive in a world teeming with threats. Those who feared appropriately, who ran from predators, avoided poisonous plants, and remained cautious around heights, survived long enough to pass on their genes. We are, in essence, the descendants of the successfully afraid. 420, this evolutionary heritage explains a curious phenomenon known as preparedness theory. Humans and other primates learn to fear certain stimuli, snakes, spiders, heights far more readily than modern dangers like guns or electrical outlets, despite the latter posing greater statistical threats in contemporary life. Our brains remain calibrated to the dangers of ancestral environments, explaining why ophidiophobia, fear of snakes, is one of the most common phobias worldwide, even among people who have never encountered a snake. 5 o'clock, the adaptive value of fear manifests in multiple response patterns that have puzzled scientists for decades. We're all familiar with fight or flight, but recent research has expanded this to include freeze, fawn, and even faint responses, each offering unique survival advantages in different threatening scenarios. Freezing, for instance, makes you less visible to predators and allows for careful assessment before action. These varied fear responses aren't signs of weakness, but sophisticated survival strategies honed across millennia. 540, while certain fears appear universal: heights, deep water, predators, others emerge from cultural contexts or individual experiences. Cross-cultural studies reveal fascinating patterns of both shared and divergent fears across human societies, suggesting an intricate dance between our genetic inheritance and learning. Some cultures develop collective fears based on environmental factors or historical traumas, demonstrating fear's remarkable plasticity despite its ancient origins. 620, but what transforms normal, adaptive fear into a debilitating phobia? This metamorphosis remains one of psychology's most baffling mysteries. Phobias are defined as persistent, excessive fears of specific objects or situations that trigger immediate anxiety disproportionate to any actual danger. What separates them from ordinary fears is their intensity and their impact on daily functioning. 7 o'clock, the classification of phobias reveals the astonishing breadth of human fear. Specific phobias target particular objects or situations, animals, natural environments, blood, or specific situations like flying. Social phobias involve fear of judgment or humiliation, and agoraphobia encompasses fears of places where escape might be difficult. Approximately 12% of adults will experience a specific phobia at some point in their lives, an extraordinary prevalence that underscores fear's powerful grip on the human mind. 740, the development of phobias follows several intriguing pathways. Classical conditioning, associating neutral stimuli with frightening experiences, explains many cases. If you were trapped in an elevator as a child, that confined space becomes paired with the fear response, potentially leading to claustrophobia. Observational learning offers another route. Witnessing another's fear can implant the same fear in your own mind, a transmission that likely offered evolutionary advantages when learning about dangers from others' experiences. 820, perhaps most perplexing, is the information pathway to phobia formation. Simply learning something is dangerous, even without direct experience, can seed a powerful fear. This explains how warnings about rarely encountered dangers can nonetheless generate intense phobic responses in susceptible individuals. Trauma, too, can catalyze phobic reactions as the brain's fear circuitry becomes hypersensitized, extending fear responses to stimuli reminiscent of the traumatic event. 9 o'clock, now we venture into truly bizarre territory, the strange and unusual phobias that challenge our understanding of fear itself. Consider trypophobia, the revulsion toward clustered holes or bumps, which affects an estimated 16% of people despite having no obvious evolutionary explanation. Researchers theorize it might relate to unconscious associations with infectious disease patterns or venomous animals. 940, or contemplate nomophobia, the fear of being without mobile phone access, a thoroughly modern anxiety that nonetheless activates the same ancient fear circuitry as more primordial threats. Ablutophobia, fear of bathing, papophobia, fear of the Pope, or pogonophobia, fear of beards. These seemingly irrational fears illuminate how the fear mechanism can attach itself to virtually any stimulus under the right conditions. 1020, one particularly enchanting case is omphallophobia, fear of belly buttons. While seemingly arbitrary, this fear may connect to unconscious associations with vulnerability or birth trauma, demonstrating how deeply personal history can shape our fears in unexpected ways. The very existence of these unusual phobias challenges our understanding of fear as purely adaptive, suggesting our fear systems can sometimes operate independently from survival advantage. 11.0, yet for all their diversity, phobias share common neural substrates. Brain imaging studies reveal heightened amygdala activation regardless of the specific fear trigger, suggesting a unified underlying mechanism despite the vastly different manifestations. What differs is the trigger, the input that activates this common fear circuit, which may explain why phobias can form around virtually anything while producing remarkably similar physiological and psychological experiences. 1140, fortunately, science has unraveled effective approaches for conquering phobias. Exposure therapy, gradually confronting the feared stimulus in controlled conditions, remains the gold standard treatment, allowing the brain to rewrite its fear associations through direct experience. Systematic desensitization pairs this exposure with relaxation techniques, creating a counterconditioning effect where the feared stimulus becomes associated with calm rather than panic. 1220, cognitive behavioral therapy addresses the thought patterns that maintain phobias, challenging catastrophic thinking and providing alternative interpretations of feared situations. For instance, someone with aerophobia, fear of flying, might be guided to examine statistics on flight safety and identify cognitive distortions that amplify their perception of danger. 13.0, virtual reality has emerged as a particularly fascinating frontier in phobia treatment. By creating immersive simulations of feared situations, therapists can precisely control exposure parameters while keeping patients physically safe. A patient with acrophobia, fear of heights, might progress from standing on a virtual first-floor balcony to gradually ascending a virtual skyscraper, all while their physiological responses are monitored and managed. 1340, pharmacological interventions offer another approach, particularly for severe cases. Beta blockers can dampen the physical symptoms of fear during exposure, while anti-anxiety medications may reduce overall fear sensitivity. However, these chemical interventions work best when combined with psychological treatments addressing the underlying fear associations. 1420, on the cutting edge of research, scientists are exploring memory reconsolidation, the brief window when retrieved memories become temporarily malleable before being restored. Administering certain drugs during this reconsolidation window may weaken fear memories at their neurological roots. Others are investigating transcranial magnetic stimulation to modulate activity in fear circuits, potentially offering relief for previously intractable phobias. 15.0, one of the most baffling aspects of fear is its dual nature, at once protective and paralyzing. Fear can save your life by keeping you from genuine dangers, yet simultaneously constrict your existence when it grows disproportionate. This paradox appears throughout human experience. The same mechanism that protected our ancestors now prevents some people from leaving their homes or pursuing their dreams. 1540, consider this thought experiment. Would you want to live without fear? A world without fear might seem appealing, but individuals with rare amygdala damage who cannot experience fear face profound difficulties navigating potential dangers. Fear, it seems, is not merely an inconvenient emotion to overcome, but an essential compass guiding us through life's genuine hazards. 1620, the science of fear also illuminates broader human psychology. Our risk assessment abilities remain stubbornly anchored in our evolutionary past. We fear flying more than driving, despite the latter being statistically far more dangerous. This mismatch between instinctive fear and actual risk underlies many modern anxieties and informs how we communicate about contemporary dangers like climate change or public health threats. 17.0, fear also binds us socially. The shared experience of fear, whether in a haunted house or during a thriller movie, creates powerful social bonds. Research shows that people who experience fear together often feel closer afterward, perhaps explaining the perennial appeal of horror entertainment despite its seemingly aversive nature. This social dimension of fear reminds us that even our most private emotional experiences connect us to others in unexpected ways. 1740, as we contemplate the future of fear research, several frontiers beckon. Geneticists are identifying specific gene variants that influence fear sensitivity, potentially explaining why some people develop phobias more readily than others. Neuroscientists are mapping ever more precise fear circuits, while psychologists continue exploring the complex interplay between biological predisposition and environmental learning in fear development. 1820, perhaps most fascinating, is how understanding fear illuminates consciousness itself. Fear operates across multiple levels of awareness, from unconscious neural responses to conscious emotional experiences to metacognitive reflections on our own fear. This layered nature of fear offers a window into the architecture of mind, revealing how different levels of processing interact to create our subjective experiences. 19.0, as we conclude our journey through the shadowy landscape of fear, we're left with a profound appreciation for this ancient emotion's complexity. Far from a simple survival mechanism, fear emerges as a sophisticated system that has shaped human biology, psychology, and culture throughout our evolutionary history. By understanding its mechanisms, we gain not only scientific insight, but also practical tools for managing our own fears and phobias more effectively. 1940, the next time you feel that familiar rush of dread, perhaps you'll pause to marvel at the elegant neural machinery at work. A system honed across countless generations to keep you alive in a dangerous world, sometimes at the cost of your comfort. Until next time, I encourage you to consider your own fears not as weaknesses to overcome, but as windows into your evolutionary heritage and unique life story. In the enigmatic world of fear, even our most irrational phobias have something profound to teach us about what it means to be human.